On the night of our grand wedding, my husband, the heir to the Marquis of Yuan, consummated his marriage with a blind maidservant. He claimed he had drunk too much wine and mistook the blind maid for me. Jiazhao was a woman Gu Huyan had brought back from his travels. She had been blinded by a poisoned arrow meant for him and had been pampered in the Marquis's residence ever since. Clutching her torn dress, she knelt before me, weeping and begging. I truly didn't mean to. I cannot see, so I entered the wrong room and made a terrible mistake. I begged the heir's wife to punish me. The heir was drunk. He merely committed a mistake that all men in the world make. Please do not blame him, madam. 1,000 wrongs, 10,000 wrongs, they are all Jiazhao's fault. Now that I have ruined the wedding night of the heir and his wife, whether you beat me to death or sell me off, Jiazhao will have no complaints. Wearing my phoenix crown and wedding robes, I stood before her and spoke softly. Then let it be death by beating. The heir and I were married by imperial decree. Anyone who offends against that has committed a capital crime. You will not die unjustly. Jiazhao collapsed to the floor, and the heir instantly sobered up. Jiazhao lifted her beautiful face, stained with tears, looking pitiful and moving. Her jade-like fingers tightly gripped the cloak draped over her shoulders. I found that cloak very familiar. It was the one I had personally sewn for Gu Huyan on the day of our betrothal, embroidered with the character for peace. Madam, what did you say? Jiazhao's voice was broken, her face full of disbelief. I replied coldly, word by word. You said you would have no complaints whether I beat you to death or sold you. Selling you would sound bad if word got out, so it is better to beat you to death. We can simply tell the public you died of a sudden illness. That is plausible enough and won't disgrace the reputation of the Marquis of Yuan's household. Rest assured, since you saved the heir, I will ensure you have a lavish funeral to preserve your dignity after death. Jiazhao cried and crawled on her knees toward me, groping to grab the hem of my robe. I took a light step back. My wedding shoes were inlaid with imperial pearls, and I didn't want them soiled by such a person. Madam, I beg you to spare Jiazhao. I really didn't know. I can't see. I just wanted to return to my own room. I didn't expect to stumble into the bridal chamber. The heir only has you in his heart. He was drunk, that's why he mistook me for you. I sneered. I heard that because you saved the heir, you were kept in the manor and treated like a young lady. Because you cannot see, the servants attending you never leave your side. So let me ask you, where are your maids and older servants? Did they all die? Bring in all the maids and servants who attend her. If they cannot give a satisfactory explanation, sell them all. Noble daughters are taught the art of household management from a young age. The first rule, maintain authority over subordinates and never be soft-hearted. Before I left home, my mother had specifically warned me. I just never expected someone would try to trample on me on my very wedding night. Before the servants could be brought in, Gu Huyan rushed in. His face was slightly flushed, showing he had been drinking, but he was certainly not dead drunk. Drunk and slept with the wrong person. Did he take me for a fool with such an excuse? Gu Huyan frowned and said, Madam, it is all my fault. I apologize to you, but I heard you want to beat Jiazhao to death. Today is our wedding day. How can you be so cruel? I merely slept with a maid. Just let her be a chamber mistress or a concubine in the backyard. It's just feeding one more person. Why go to such lengths? Wouldn't that earn you a reputation for being harsh? I laughed. On the wedding night, the heir consummated the marriage early with a maid in the bridal chamber. If this gets out, I will be the biggest laughingstock in the capital. Reputation? What reputation do I have left? If I cannot even keep watch over my own husband on my wedding night, who wouldn't call it a joke? My lord heir, you haven't just slapped the face of the Duke of Dingguo's estate, but also the face of the royal family. Do not forget, the marriage between our two families was decreed by the emperor himself. Miss Jiazhao is just a lowly maid. She wouldn't dare commit such a crime that could lead to execution or clan extermination. Someone must be backing her. Could it be that the heir planned this with her? Gu Huyan helped Jiazhao up. Nonsense. I was just drunk for a moment. You are the legitimate daughter of a duke. If your husband takes concubines in the future, are you going to beat every single one of them to death? Seeing his self-righteous attitude, I sat down and ordered my maid. Bring in the maids and servants who attend Miss Jiazhao. I want to see how a blind woman managed to precisely bypass the main hall, avoid the wedding ceremony hall, and walk into the bridal chamber all by herself. Gu Huyan's expression changed, and he muttered, perhaps Jiazhao wanted to come and hear the festivities and took a wrong turn. Xiaozhao leaned into Gu Huyan's embrace, weeping. Heir, Xiaozhao really didn't mean to seduce you. You were pulling my hand, I couldn't break free. I really didn't mean to. Gu Huyan was heartbroken and looked only at me. Madam, are you truly going to force her to death? I have already admitted my mistake to you. Don't be too demanding. Why not elevate Xiaozhao to a concubine? I'll have her serve you tea and apologize tomorrow, all right? Today is our big day. Let's not miss the auspicious time for the nuptials. After all this, he still wanted to proceed with the nuptials. Disgusting. I stood up and spoke with conviction. Heir, watch your words. I have not drunk the nuptial wine with you, nor performed the rites of the bridal chamber. We are not yet truly husband and wife. Servants, go to the front and notify the Marquis of Huayuan and the Marchioness. Call my father and mother here as well. Xiaozhao fell to her knees with a thud and began kowtowing. Madam, I beg Madam to give Xiaozhao a way to live. Xiaozhao will never dare do it again. As she cried and kowtowed, the cloak slipped from her shoulders, revealing mottled purple and red marks on her neck and shoulders. The Marquis of Huayuan and the others entered just in time to witness this scene. I immediately threw myself into my mother's arms. Mother, you must seek justice for me. Gu Huyan pretended to be drunk and did the deed with that blind woman. Of all times, he chose my wedding night. He did this deliberately to humiliate me, to assert dominance, so that I would be lower than his concubine in the future. Our two families were granted marriage by the emperor, yet the Marquis of Huayuan's estate uses a blind woman to humiliate me. If the wedding night is like this, how can I endure the future? Mother, I do not want to marry Gu Huyan. My father's face was already iron blue with rage. What a fine Marquis of Huayuan. My daughter suffers such grievances on her very first day here. If you humiliate the Shen family like this marriage need not happen. The Marquis and his wife hurriedly tried to mediate. It's a misunderstanding, absolutely a misunderstanding. This Xiaozhao is the one who saved my son years ago. She is blind, surely she accidentally walked into the wrong room. My mother sneered. A grand Marquis estate, and yet a guest doesn't even have a serving maid by her side. You let a blind girl walk all the way to the heir's room? Marchioness, go ask outside and see if anyone dares to believe that. If you don't speak the truth, you will all be beaten to death. The maids and older women servants knelt on the ground. Madam, spare our lives. We will never dare again. We were only following our master's orders. The sounds of kowtowing and begging for mercy filled the room. Following the master's orders, I looked at Gu Huyan. Were you listening to this master or Master Xiaozhao? Gu Huyan couldn't help but speak up. Shen Tangyun, enough. Even if I touched Xiaozhao, she is just a concubine. Does the daughter of the Duke of Dingguo forbid her husband from taking concubines? Who would dare want such a jealous woman if word got out? Slap. I delivered a harsh slap across his face. Gu Huyan, you committed the fault first. You engaged in illicit acts with a blind woman on our wedding day, and now you accuse me of being unvirtuous. There is no such logic in the world. If you have the courage, let us go to the palace and argue this before Her Majesty the Empress. If you had openly said you had a beloved woman and wanted to take her as a concubine, would I have disagreed? Or if you resisted the decree for her sake and said you wanted to take her as your wife, I would have respected you as a man of responsibility. But you said nothing, waiting until the wedding night to use such filthy tricks to demean and humiliate me. I cannot swallow this insult, and neither can the Duke of Dingguo's estate. A husband like you is not worth having. With red eyes, I looked at my parents. Father, mother, your daughter does not want to marry such a person. Father was livid. We aren't marrying, let's go back home. At worst, I will kneel in the main hall tomorrow and beg the emperor for forgiveness. Consider it the Duke of Dingguo's estate disobeying the decree. Let's see how the emperor judges this. Seeing the situation turning disastrous, the Marquis of Huayuan, furious, kicked Gu Huyan in the leg. Unfilial son, kneel down immediately and apologize to your father-in-law. My father quickly stepped aside. I cannot accept this kneel from the heir. Since the marriage is not concluded, I cannot be considered the heir's father-in-law. Gu Huyan held his head high. Father, a man must repay kindness. Xiaozhao saved me back then. Why can't I marry her? She went blind for me. Can I not take care of her for a lifetime? If I cannot even do this, how can I be the heir to the Marquis of Huayuan in the future? My mother laughed mockingly. Truly laughable. You could have married her or taken her as a concubine at any time, yet you chose the very day of your wedding to my daughter. I suspect the Marquis and the Marchioness would not allow someone of such low status into the family, So you came up with this method to force my daughter to nod in agreement. You want a noble wife, yet you also want to be with your beloved. Did you think Tang Yun was soft-tempered, so you could intimidate her during the wedding and make her accept it in silence? HMPH, I'm afraid you miscalculated. I stood aside, looking at him with disdain. If the heir thinks this way, he is mistaken. I am not the one who did wrong, and the loss of face is not limited to the Shen family. I would rather not marry than suffer such anger. Father shouted in approval. Well said, my daughter will not suffer this cowardice. Let's go, this marriage is cancelled as of today. The news that the Duke of Dingguo's estate and the Marquis of Huayuan's estate had fallen out on the night of the wedding spread through every street and alley of the capital overnight. Unless two families were enemies, who would humiliate a bride on her wedding night like that? The Marquis of Huayuan's estate became the laughingstock of the capital overnight. Some said I was jealous and not a virtuous woman. But why should I wrong myself for a lifetime just for the sake of a so-called virtuous reputation? Father said, whoever wants that reputation for virtue can have it. My daughter will absolutely not suffer such humiliation. The next day, the Marchioness of Huayuan brought the heir and Jiazhao to the Duke of Dingguo's estate to apologize. She smiled apologetically. Huyan thought about it all night yesterday and realized his mistake. He came specifically today to apologize to Tang Yun. 1,000 wrongs, 10,000 wrongs, they are all his fault. You may beat or scold him, he will not talk back. The marriage between the two families is the emperor's will. How can we just call it off? As long as Tang Yun nods, the marriage proceeds. I will put my words here today. Miss Jiazhao can no longer stay in the manor. Once she apologizes to Tang Yun, I will have her sent away to a farm estate. Jiazhao cried pitifully on the side. Gu Huyan wanted to plead for her, but seeing the Marchioness's glare that looked ready to devour people, he shut his mouth. He only looked at me with pleading eyes. I turned my face away. He did such disgusting things himself, yet wanted me to give him a way out. Keep dreaming. My mother laughed, her words full of thorns. Marchioness, you speak too seriously. The heir did such a thing on the wedding night, throwing Tang Yun's face on the ground and stomping on it. How dare I marry my daughter into your house? Once the marriage is truly finalized and he brings that girl back into the Marquis manor, what can my daughter say? If she disagrees, she is jealous. If she nods, she suffers a grievance for a lifetime. Why don't our two families break the engagement? The heir can marry another noble daughter. Wouldn't that be best for everyone? The Marchioness looked angrily at Jiazhao and Gu Huyan. I told you long ago, even if she saved your life, giving her some silver and having her served well would have been enough. But you insisted on taking her as a concubine, causing all this trouble. Jiazhao shrank trembling behind Gu Huyan. Madam, I sincerely admire the heir. I beg Madam to fulfill my wish. After speaking, she turned her face toward my mother and me, saying pitifully, Madam, Jiazhao is willing to be a slave or a maid to serve you for a lifetime. Jiazhao asks for nothing, only to be able to stay by the heir's side. Gu Huyan stared at me angrily. What more do you want from Jiazhao? She has begged you like this. Do you have no compassion at all? Mother slammed the table. Heir, you were the one who did wrong first, and now you blame my daughter instead? If she asks for nothing, then let her drink a bowl of sterilization medicine. I am truly afraid the heir will favor the concubine and neglect the wife. Marchioness, what do you think? Jiazhao threw herself into Gu Huyan's arms. Heir. Gu Huyan was furious. You people of the Duke's estate are bullying us too far. How dare you force Jiazhao to drink sterilization medicine? I spoke sternly. Heir, last night I caught you in your scandalous act. She begged, saying she would willingly be sold or beaten to death. I said beat her to death to save the face of both families, but she refused. Today, she kneels before me begging, saying she is willing to be a slave as long as she stays by your side. My mother granted her wish by letting her drink sterilization soup, yet she refuses again. In the end, she just wants to rightfully be your wife. Why speak so prettily and make yourself a joke for no reason? Gu Huyan held Jiazhao, staring straight at me. The marriage between the Duke and the Marquis was decreed by His Majesty. The Shen family has only one legitimate daughter. You must marry whether you want to or not. I am still giving you some face now. If you don't quit while you're ahead, I'll simply go home and wait. In the end, it will be your family disobeying the decree first. Because a royal marriage cannot be easily cancelled, he used this to threaten me. Mother was so angry her face turned red, unable to speak. Father walked to the door, overhearing Gu Huyan's boastful words. He threw open the curtain, furious. Yes, the Duke of Dinguo's estate has only one daughter, but the Marquis of Huayuan has two legitimate sons. Gu Huyan, I will go to the palace today to request a decree. My Tangyun will not marry you. Marchioness, I see your eldest son has also reached marriageable age. Let us settle the marriage contract with him today. Gu Huyan was stunned and said blankly, What did you say? I took a step forward and repeated my father's words. Didn't hear clearly? Father said I won't marry you. He is going to betroth me to the eldest legitimate son of the Marquis of Huayuan, Gu Jian. At this, even the Marchioness stood up in anxiety. Impossible. Mother recovered her wits and smiled. That's right. The Emperor's decree is for the legitimate daughter of the Duke to marry the legitimate son of the Marquis. The Marquis of Huayuan has more than just Gu Huyan as a legitimate son. If the Marchioness is unwilling, it doesn't matter. When the Duke goes to the palace to ask for the decree, as long as the two families are united, I imagine the Emperor won't care which son it is. The Marchioness slumped back into her chair, her face ashen. Gu Huyan shouted, I am the heir to the Marquis, the future Marquis of Huayuan. Shen Tangyun, you would rather marry a brute of a soldier than marry me. I looked at him coldly. Yes, General Gu is brave and resourceful, a true man of hot blood. He is 1,000, 10,000 times better than a hypocrite like you. I do not care if he inherits the title. If I marry him, the heir can also marry Miss Xiaojia with peace of mind. Is that not the best of both worlds? Gu Jian was the eldest legitimate son born of the Marquis's original wife. His mother died of illness when he was 5. The current Marchioness is the second wife, and Gu Huyan is her son. The Marquis doted on the second wife and consequently favored the younger son, causing the eldest son to suffer greatly. Once Gu Jian came of age, he was sent to the army to gain experience. Even the title of heir, the Marquis had requested be given to the second son under the pretext that the eldest son was unruly and unbearable. Unexpectedly, Gu Jian proved himself worthy. He gritted his teeth, endured, earned merit, and was titled General Mingwei. On the day my father made the decision, he entered the palace to seek the Emperor's decree, explaining the events of that day and exchanging the husband for his legitimate daughter. The Emperor laughed heartily. Good, good. General Mingwei just achieved a military victory, and I was wondering how to reward him. Let a decree be issued to grant a marriage to General Mingwei. Along with the decree came a mansion. The Emperor, being clear-sighted, likely knew of the dirty laundry in the Marquis's estate. Establishing a separate general's manor would avoid future quarrels. However, since the parents were still living, the family could not fully separate. The Emperor required Gu Jian and me to live in the Marquis manor for 3 months after the wedding, before moving to the general's manor next door. My father had spent a lifetime in the military and held great prestige. Although the Marquis of Huayuan's estate was noble and prominent, the current generation of sons could no longer lift a blade. Aside from Gu Jian, the other descendants mostly pursued civil service exams, though most were unsuccessful. The Marquis was wary of his eldest son, fearing that the brothers would fight over the inheritance later. That was why he found a powerful in-law like the Duke of Dinguo for his favorite younger son. He never expected Gu Huyan to throw everything away for a blind girl, causing the marriage to fall to Gu Jian instead. Although reluctant, it was an imperial decree. The Marquis still prepared to go to the Duke's estate to personally present the betrothal gifts for Gu Jian. The Marchioness was naturally unwilling. This marriage was supposed to be her son's. So, the betrothal gifts prepared for her stepson, Gu Jian, were sloppy and perfunctory. On the day of presenting the gifts, the Marquis walked out the door, saw the dozen or so shabby crates, and turned green. Are you trying to slap my face or the Emperor's face? Are you afraid people don't know that you, the stepmother, treat the eldest son harshly? The Marchioness grumbled discontentedly. Where does the manor have that much money? Huyan still has to marry. Where will the silver come from then? Onlookers outside pointed and whispered. Oh my, when the heir presented gifts, there were so many crates. How come now that the eldest young master is presenting gifts, the Marquisate only prepared these? Don't you know, the eldest young master isn't born of the madam. Stepmother, you know, how could she bear to part with real gold and silver for gifts? The Marquis of Huayuan is a high noble house after all, this is. The Marquis's face grew uglier the more he listened. Gu Jian smiled. No need for father to worry, I have already prepared the betrothal gifts. Men, bring out the gifts from my courtyard. Dozens of crates of precious gifts were carried out, along with a pair of live wild geese. Hunting live geese in such winter weather was extremely difficult, showing the general's regard for the marriage. Having become a laughingstock to outsiders, the Marquis returned to the manor in a rage and issued orders regarding the arrangement of his eldest son's bridal chamber. If you tamper with Jeanne's wedding and make it look bad, you can stop being the Marchioness. It is a marriage granted by the heavens. Do you want to lose your head? On the wedding day, an 8-bearer sedan chair from the Marquis of Wayuan's estate carried me through the gates. Gu Jian was strikingly handsome and heroic. Having washed and dressed carefully for the wedding reception today, he caused many noble young ladies to blush. On the wedding night, he lifted my veil, we drank the nuptial wine, and performed the hair-binding ceremony. Holding my hand, he said, "Do not worry, we will only stay in the manor for 3 months. I have already ordered people to prepare the general's manor. In 3 months, we will move out and live our own small life. If there is anything you like, just order my men to get it. The general's manor will be our home from now on." I lowered my head, blushing. Yes, this concubine listens to her husband. Note, humble self-reference for wife. Just as the wedding night was proceeding, a commotion and screaming came from outside. It turned out that at the wedding banquet, Gu Huyan had brought Xiaozhao out, publicly declaring her the woman he loved and stating he wanted to take her as his wife. At the banquet, the Marchioness had been chatting happily with the wife of Earl Anyang, very satisfied with the Earl's legitimate daughter, Liu Rying. The two ladies had made progress in their discussion, waiting only to check the horoscopes before formally proposing. Who knew Gu Huyan would bring Xiaozhao out? The faces of both ladies darkened. Liu Rying looked at Xiaozhao, who stood surrounded by maids but wore the hairstyle of an unmarried girl. She asked in confusion, "Miss Xiaozhao, are you a guest of the marquisate or the heir's concubine? If you are a concubine, why do you wear a maiden's hairstyle instead of a concubine's?" Xiaozhao bit her lower lip. "I cannot see. Everything was arranged by the heir." As she spoke, she suddenly clutched her chest, turned pale, retched, and cried out, "Heir, I feel sick," before falling backward in a faint. Xiaozhao's sudden vomiting and fainting at the wedding banquet startled the ladies and misses. Gu Huyan rushed over, holding Xiaozhao and shouting, "Call a doctor, quickly." The manor doctor hurried over, checked her pulse, and let out a sigh of relief. "Congratulations, heir. The young lady has a happiness pulse, is pregnant." The Countess of Anyang smiled humorlessly. "Oh, congratulations, Marchioness. You are going to be a grandmother. The heir is truly fortunate. He is about to become a father. I just wonder which noble daughter is lucky enough to become a stepmother the moment she enters the door." These words made the Marchioness's face flush red, leaving her in an impossible situation. With the heir's wife not yet decided, Gu Huyan had allowed a concubine to conceive first. What noble family would willingly marry their daughter to a husband with a beloved concubine and an eldest illegitimate son? The farce at the banquet completely ruined Gu Huyan's reputation. As soon as the banquet dispersed, the Marchioness immediately ordered a bowl of abortion medicine brewed, stormed into Xiaozhao's courtyard, and demanded it be poured down her throat. Gu Huyan knelt on the ground begging, "Mother, Xiaozhao is carrying your grandchild. How can you be so cruel? This is my first child." The Marchioness kicked him away. "What grandchild? My grandchild must come from the belly of the heir's legitimate wife. She is just a concubine. What good does it do you if she gives birth first?" The Marquis also had a face of iron. "If you still want the position of heir, get rid of this disgraceful bastard fetus. Otherwise, HMPH, I have more than one son. You must know, the face of the marquisate is more important than anything." He then angrily scolded his wife, "A doting mother spoils the child. Look at what you've pampered the second son into, insufficient in success, more than capable of failure. If this continues, I cannot hand the family business over to him." He scolded the Marchioness until she nearly fainted from anger. The abortion medicine was eventually forced down Xiaozhao's throat. I heard she bled that night, and the fetus was gone. The second day after the wedding, when we offered tea to the elders, the Marquis looked at Gu Jian and me, extremely satisfied. Good, good. Now that Jian has started a family, his mother can rest in peace in the underworld." Saying this, he handed over several boxes. These are all part of the dowry his mother left for Jian's marriage, saying they were to be given to her daughter-in-law. Now, I have fulfilled her wish. Those boxes contained extremely precious head ornaments, jewelry, and jade, each an heirloom treasure. Seeing them all handed to me, the Marchioness went red with envy. "My lord, these are also the marquisate's possessions. If you give them all to Jian, what will we do when Huyen gets married? I covered my mouth and laughed. Mother jests. It is only right and proper for a woman's dowry to be left to her own children. Where is the logic in dividing it among others? The Marchioness darkened her face. She was also Jian's legitimate mother. Speaking of which, Huyen also has to call her mother. Shouldn't half be given to Huyen. Growing up, it was the first time I had seen such a shameless person. The Marquis's face instantly flushed red. Share half with Huyen? When has Huyen ever burned a stick of incense before her spirit tablet or called her mother? Yet now he wants to share her dowry. She died years ago. How did she become Huyen's mother? I put on a face of understanding. Mother must have her own considerations for saying this. Does that mean Mother's dowry will also be shared half with my husband? Mother is truly deeply righteous. Jian, come thank Mother. The Marchioness jumped up. Are you crazy? Why should my dowry be given to him? I looked at her. Exactly. Then why should my mother-in-law's dowry be given to Gu Huyen? Do not do unto others what you would not have them do unto you. Has Mother never heard of this? Or is it because Jian has no birth mother to love him, so he is left to be bullied by others? I looked at Gu Jian with red eyes. Husband, you are so pitiful. No wonder you went to the army at such a young age, while the heir lived in luxury in the capital. But it doesn't matter. If no one in the Gu estate loves you, my Shen family is the same. From now on, my parents are your parents, they will love you. If anyone bullies you and you cannot argue back because of filial piety, I am just a petty woman. I fear nothing. My expression of what can you do to me made Gu Jian laugh. He smiled and replied, Madam, your husband is now a ranked court official and no longer the child from years ago. Who dares to bully me? I smiled, looking at him, my words carrying hidden meaning. True. Besides, we move out in 3 months anyway. In the future, the Emperor's rewards can be sent directly to the General's manor, to avoid people always thinking about taking half. The Marchioness clutched her chest in anger, pointing at us, unable to speak. Unfilial son, are you trying to anger me to death? Gu Huyen, with a dark face, watched as I paid my respects to him. Greetings, second brother. Then I placed a fully embroidered insole on the tray as a meeting gift. He looked at the insole and his eyes reddened. Tang Yun, you used to help me embroider insoles like this too. I took a step back. Second brother, I am now your sister-in-law. Do not be rude. My maid, Huer, stepped forward from behind me. Heir, the embroidered gifts sent to the marquisate in the past were all embroidered by this servant. How could an unmarried young lady send such things to a male outsider? The heir misunderstood. The one in your hand now was also embroidered by this servant. Gu Jian spoke with a deep voice. Second brother, you must be cautious with your words and actions in the future. Bow when you see your sister-in-law, lest you invite ridicule. Gu Huyen looked ashen. He slumped into his chair, watching Gu Jian support me as we greeted friends and relatives one by one, looking every bit the deeply affectionate couple. He only felt an indescribable pain surging in his heart. Because of Zheazhao, the marriage of Gu Huyen, the heir to the Marquis, became a huge problem, causing the Marchioness extreme anxiety. Yet Gu Huyen clamored to marry Zheazhao. The Marquis of Huayuan's estate exploded. The Marchioness slammed the table. If word gets out that the heir's wife is blind, where will the marquisate put its face? I will absolutely not agree, and neither will your father. That Zheazhao is a vixen. I used to pity her for going blind at such a young age to save you, but now I understand everything. Where is there a savior who demands repayment like this? She is clinging to our family. A blind peasant girl daring to covet the position of the heir's wife. I truly underestimated her. Upon hearing this, Zheazhao threatened to jump into the lake in the backyard, throwing the entire estate into chaos. Finally, the Marchioness conceded a step. You may marry her, but only as a concubine. That is dignified enough for her. The heir's wife absolutely cannot be her. If you insist, and your father gives the heir title to Gu Jian, don't you regret it. Gu Huyen still couldn't let go of wealth and glory, so he finally agreed to marry a wife and take Zheazhao as a noble concubine. On the day Zheazhao was taken in as a noble concubine, Gu Huyen arranged a few tables for a banquet. Zheazhao was dressed charmingly. Her blindness and timid expression made her appear even more endearing. Halfway through the banquet, Zheazhao went to change her clothes. I happened to be sobering up by the corridor when I heard the sound of arguing from behind the rockery. You live in luxury in the Marquis estate and are now a noble concubine. What's wrong with lending me some silver to spend? If you don't give it, I will tell everyone in the estate your secret." Then came a timid woman's voice. "I don't know what you are talking about. What secret do I have? You are just a fellow villager of mine. What is your intention in sneaking into the estate today?" The man shouted, "Fellow villager? Your mother accepted 5 taels of silver from me as a betrothal gift back then. Want to pretend you don't know me? Keep dreaming. If you don't give me money, I'll tell the heir that your eyes were going to go blind anyway, and you didn't go blind saving him. You just happened to save him and lied that the poison caused your blindness." Xiaozhou screamed, "You're lying." The man looked triumphant. "When your mother went to the pharmacy to get medicine, I happened to hear the doctor say your eye disease was incurable and you would be completely blind within a month. Coincidentally, you saved the heir, so you deceived him into thinking poison caused it. Such deep scheming, but as long as you give me money, this secret will stay between you and me, unknown to a third party." I covered my mouth. I didn't expect to hear such a shocking secret while sobering up here. "Then wait here. I'll ask my maid to get silver from my room," Xiaozhou said. In less than the time it takes to drink a cup of tea, Xiaozhou's maid sneakily brought out a bundle and gave it to Xiaozhou. "Miss, inside are 500 taels in banknotes and your jewelry." The man snatched the bundle. "That's more like it. Don't worry, I won't tell your secret." With that, he turned and ran. But before he could run out of the back garden, Xiaozhou and the maid started screaming, "Help, thief, he stole things." When Gu Huyan arrived, Xiaozhou was huddled in a corner, trembling with fear. Hearing Gu Huyan's voice, she groped her way into his arms. "Husband, the silver and jewelry you gave me were all stolen by a thief. Just now, I returned to my courtyard to change, and my personal maid said the room had been ransacked, and the silver and jewelry were gone." The man was blocked at the side gate, tied up securely, gagged, and thrown to the ground. Gu Huyan kicked him. Such audacity, daring to enter the marquis estate to steal. Xiaozhou pulled at Gu Huyan. "Husband, my maid and I ran into this thief trying to escape at the courtyard side gate. He said if we shouted, he would kill us. You must not let him go, beat him to death. Not only did he threaten me, but he also tried to take liberties with me. If I hadn't fought with my life, I'm afraid I would never have seen you again." Gu Huyan's eyes were bloodshot. "What a thief, daring to insult my woman, beat him to death with rods." I hurriedly stepped out from the side and spoke. "Heir, even if he is a thief, there are laws. How can we treat human life so lightly? Besides, we should find out clearly why he entered the estate to steal. What if he has accomplices? Men, remove the cloth from his mouth. Let's hear what he says." Xiaozhou screamed, "Don't remove it. There is no truth in the mouth of such a person, no need to listen to him." Gu Jian stepped forward and directly pulled the rag from the man's mouth. The man looked ferocious and cursed. "A woman's heart is the most poisonous. I only asked you for some silver, and you want my life. Since you are heartless, don't blame me for being unjust." He looked at Gu Huyan. "Heir, the name Xiaozhou is fake. Her real name is Qiuhua. Blocking poison and going blind for you, it's all fake. She had an eye disease long ago. Even if she didn't save you, she would have been blind within a month. If you don't believe me, go ask the doctor at the pharmacy near her home. She claimed the merit of saving you to win your sympathy, making you obey her every wish and give her a life of luxury. In fact, she has been lying to you all along." Xiaozhou's face was pale as death. She covered her ears and screamed, "No, you are lying. Husband, don't believe his words. He is just a thief, a liar. Beat him to death. Someone beat him to death quickly." The man became even angrier and shouted, "Want to beat me to death? That is murdering your husband. Li Qiuhua and I have a marriage contract from long ago. Her family even accepted my 5 taels of betrothal money. Even if she followed you to the capital, her family didn't return the money. That makes her my unwed wife. Heir, stealing another man's wife and forcefully taking a commoner woman, that leads to a lawsuit." The Marchioness of Huayuan had rushed over upon hearing the news and heard just that sentence. She immediately jumped up, stepped forward, and slapped Xiaozhou hard across the face. "Slut! Are you trying to get my son killed? If people get hold of this and say he forcefully took a commoner woman, his future is ruined. You dared to pretend to save someone just to scam money from the marquis estate. Such deep scheming. Men, strip everything off this slut, make her roll back to where she came from, and let her leave the estate with her fiancé. Don't dream of stepping into our marquis estate again." Xiaozhou clung tightly to Gu Huyan. "Heir, save me. I am already yours and I carried a child for you. You can't not save me." The Marchioness shouted sternly, "Drag her out immediately." Gu Huyan listened in a daze. staring blankly as Jeaja was dragged out of the Marquis estate crying and shouting, thrown out together with that man. I looked at Gu Huyen. Such a man, completely irresponsible. He claimed to love Jeaja, but the moment trouble arose, he acted like a turtle shrinking into its shell. Truly disgusting. After expelling Jeaja, the Marchioness became smug again and started looking for a wife for Gu Huyen. There were still families in the capital willing to cling to power, and soon a fifth-rank capital official agreed to marry his legitimate daughter into the Marquis estate. On the day of Gu Huyen's wedding, he looked triumphant, as if everything from the past had never happened. Just as they were bowing to heaven and earth, a squad of officers rushed in. Heir to the Marquis of Huayuan, a blind woman and a man have gone to the governor of the capital to accuse you of stealing a wife and forcefully seizing a commoner woman. Everyone was stunned. The Marchioness screamed, "Who is accusing my son?" The officer replied, "Li Kuihua." My husband and I exchanged a glance. Indeed, heaven's justice is clear and retribution is sure. Presumably, after Jeaja was kicked out, she and her fiancé schemed together and decided to fight to the death, filing a lawsuit specifically on his wedding day. Gu Huyen was taken to the magistrate's office before his wedding could be completed. The betrothal contract between Jeaja and the man existed, and Gu Huyen had publicly declared Jeaja his concubine at my wedding banquet. There were also doctors to prove Jeaja had been pregnant and had taken abortion medicine. Item by item, piece by piece, everything proved Gu Huyen had kept Jeaja in the manor. As for whether it was forced, no one knew. It was up to them to argue. The matter caused a huge uproar. Although it ended with Gu Huyen receiving 30 strokes of the cane and the Marquis estate paying money to settle it, it eventually reached the emperor's ears. Gu Huyen lacks virtue. Marquis of Huayuan, you should carefully consider the candidate for your heir. The meaning was clear at a glance. Upon returning to the manor, the Marquis submitted a plea of guilt and requested to revoke Gu Huyen's title of heir and appoint Gu Jian as the heir to the Marquis of Huayuan instead. The Marchioness screamed, cried, and threatened suicide. Annoyed beyond endurance, the Marquis sent her directly to their ancestral home in Qingzhou to reflect quietly. Having been rejected on his wedding night for the second time and stripped of his heir title, Gu Huyen became completely despondent. He drank daily, did nothing productive, and even became addicted to gambling. The Marquis forced him onto a carriage with his mother and sent them to the ancestral home in Qingzhou, ordering him to listen to the clan elders, reflect behind closed doors, and study seriously. Later, I heard he married a woman from a military family in Qingzhou. She was fierce and tamed him completely. He never returned to the capital. As for Gu Jian and me, we finally moved out of the Marquis estate 3 months later. No matter how the Marquis tried to ask us to stay, we never looked back. Gu Jian said, "When he sent me to the army, regardless of whether I lived or died from that moment on, I considered myself to be without a father. He looked at me and said, 'If you have a child in the future, I will be a good father. I will teach him to ride horses, shoot arrows, fly kites with him, and teach him the principles of being a person.' I took his hand and placed it gently on my stomach. 'Then husband must prepare well. In another 8 months, you will be a father.'